I'm really excited to have Robert Christiansen with us today. Robert is a cloud technology leader, a motivator, a speaker, and an innovator. Robert is a contributing writer for CIO magazine. He's the editor-in-chief for the Doppler magazine, the leader in cloud thought leadership, and the host of the popular Motive for Life podcast. He's also a best-selling author for the book The Bug in Our Brain. And he's also one of my guys, someone that I admire, someone that I look up to, someone that I learn from in one of my, in my men's group. So welcome to the show, Robert.
Thank you for having me, CK.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the practice that I've been doing for almost 14 months now, ever since I listened to Terry Crews on Tim Ferriss's podcast, he was talking about, Terry was talking about how he adopted intermittent fasting, right? And Tim was talking to him about how amazing he looked for his age, right? Now, Terry's all in, right? He does not let food control his life. He understands the nature of having his body as the anchor to all things being good in his life. As he eats, he feels good. As he goes through life, knowing that his body is healthy, he's at an anchor. It's his anchor position, right? And I love that. And so I've always struggled with food ever since I was a kid. Sugar has always been my first addiction, right? Since day one. I would steal money from my parents, run down to the store, get a candy bar.
Wow.
That's what I would do. So as I got older, I found that sugar was always my go-to diversion, right? Wherever I wanted to turn off my head, I'd eat a candy bar. I'd eat some sort of sugar or something that was sweet that distracted me, and I would get that high that comes with sugar, right? Your insulin would kick in, and you're feeling good. You get a little jolt of energy. It's like people smoking cigarettes, nicotine, that kind of stuff. So for me, I had to understand that reaction to food was one of my key indicators that something was upsetting me inside, that I was not okay inside, right? And so listening to Terry talk about intermittent fasting, I started studying it and looking into it, and I decided to commit to it, right? To commit to doing intermittent fasting. And so the first week was difficult, getting out of the routine of getting up and making breakfast and going getting something and stopping at the store or going someplace. So I just disconnected from any kind of eating in the morning at all of any type, right? So now it's coffee, right? I'll have a coffee, take me up to about noon or 1, and then I'll break my fast with typically some sort of protein, typically eggs, hard-boiled eggs. I'll consume a bunch of hard-boiled eggs.
How many?
Yesterday was 4, and I had a lot of greens yesterday. What else did I eat? I ate some protein, good meats, right? It could be any proteins. It doesn't much matter, right? And then I have to consume a large amount of greens of some sort. I love spinach, but it doesn't usually agree with my stomach, right? So I have to have a bathroom close by, and I know if I eat any large amount of spinach. But, I'll mix it in with kale. So a great deal is I just go down to Ralph's and take one of their things and just cram as much lettuce and various things in there, throw some turkey or chicken on top of that. It's like $7. I eat it here, and it takes me 10 or 15 minutes to eat it because it's so much.
Right.
And then, but, it fills me up. I feel good, carries me into the later time. Then maybe 2 or 3 o'clock, I might find myself with some nuts, or it depends. I give myself a lot of permission to eat what I want to eat during that time, but come 7 o'clock, 7:30, I shut down. But I also discovered, as a result of intermittent fasting, I allow myself some chocolate. Okay, almost on a daily basis. I have some piece, because as I recognize that this is so visceral and so tattooed inside me, to fight it would be. I just know me. It's so buried inside me as a psychological fallback. I give myself something to satisfy that identity inside me that seems to be going knock, knock, knock. You're not paying attention to me, right? So I'm making more friends with it, and then slowly
rather than fighting it.
I've come to recognize that this thing inside me that wants attention, and the way it gets my attention is either you deal with me now or I'll deal with you later. Right? I mean, people find themselves doing all sorts of dark things and they don't know why, instead of engaging that darker side and just saying and recognizing that darker side is there and will always be there. It's the nature of humans, right? That we have a darker side, and I let that darker side vent out like it's a steam, right? That it vent out, and I give it something to keep it okay. Right? And I've given myself permission. That's what I learned through this intermittent fasting, right? Is that I can be okay with myself being okay with a darker side. And that's a different place to be. It's like a self-love of all of me, of who I am, of what I am. It doesn't make me wrong, but somewhere along the line, I got this thing inside me that says that shouldn't exist.
Right.
And I need to squash it.
Right. To suppress it.
And that is not, for me, I've learned it is not a healthy process, because it's going to come up.
Right.
And it's going to vent, and it's kind of like a volcano.
Right.
Either the volcano's going to steam out.
Right. Like a dead volcano versus a live volcano.
Correct. Right. The live volcanoes, everybody is okay with the live volcano because we can see what it's doing. It's venting, right? It's constantly letting the steam off. All right. But, I don't want to be Mount St. Helens. Right? I don't want to have this cap, this caldera on top of that thing that finally destroys everything in a 30-mile radius.
Right. And then when it comes up, it's like, even if I speak for myself, it would surprise me.
It does.
And then it surprised everyone else. And it just that explosive power just comes up. And I learned over the years to really let that go in a healthy way.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It's got to come out, right? It's got to come out. Especially I think for men, is that we are so hard on ourselves to be a certain way that if I have that dark side and it comes out, I must be wrong. And that voice of I must be wrong is what I beat myself up with, right? And it's this high-speed hamster wheel that's in my head that I'm doing something wrong and I got to fix myself.
Right.
That's the part that I was tired of being on.
Yeah, and in our time today, there's a lot of this phrase going around like toxic masculinity, and it really turns me off. I think I can be okay with healthy, unhealthy, well, not well. Like, to describe my internal state, I can deal with that. But when you use the word toxic, now there's judgment behind that way of being. Who are you to tell me whether or not I'm toxic or not? Only I know what's healthy or unhealthy for me.
Right.
So when that word is being thrown around, when guys started using that word to describe themselves or describe other men or society in general, that's, to me, is a externally imposed judgment. And to me, that's a really turnoff.
It's a strong word.
It's a very, very strong.
Toxic masculinity is a very strong term to describe uncontrolled masculinity is what I would think of it as. And I'm married for 28 years to a very strong woman, who's very tuned into today's society, right? And she understands from her perspective what toxic masculinity is, and there is no room for that in my house, right? She and my daughter are actively involved with what's going on in today's world, right? And I listen to what it is that they're saying and what they don't like and what they're seeing, right? And from their perspective, those are the words that they would use to describe what they're seeing in other men. And in the vacuum of not understanding from a male perspective, that's the words that they are able to articulate how they feel.
I see.
Okay, and I'm okay with them articulating it that way.
I see.
Okay, what I have to know is that I have come to the position of recognizing that when I serve the feminine in my world, when I go as a servant to my wife and daughter and the women in my life, that I am there to serve them, right? All that thing that comes around that just flies out the window, right? And I find who I am. I find purpose, right? I throw on the pack on my back, right, of what they need to get done, and I'm serving them to the best of my ability. But I get that term. I don't like it, okay, but I get it.
Right.
Right.
Same here. I understand when they.
I understand where they're coming from, and you know, having strong love and support for what they need from us is really what the question is, right? Where is that? What do they need from us?
So why don't we just talk a little bit about going back to the theme of, in my mind, the mental models, not so much the darker side, the lighter side. The way I look at it, it's our lower self versus higher self.
Agreed.
It's very similar,
Yep.
right? It's the lower self is the primal, right? The sex drive. I think what do some people call it? To kill it, to fuck it, to eat it, to
attack it,
to friend it or follow it. You know, these type of like primal drives, they're all there.
Yep.
Versus the higher drive, higher self, that is to to use our cognitive ability to be purposeful, to follow our mission, to follow our core values, right? All of that stuff. So I guess going back to this, what was your journey in recognize that lower self and bring more and more awareness of that, and to have that finesse, that control, using your words, right? To bring that awareness, to come to terms, to be friends with it, rather than suppress it or try to make it wrong.
That's a great question.
So, tell us a little bit about your journey. What were the pivotal points to learn all of that lesson?
Yeah. The pivot for me happened about 10 years ago with my wife, and financially I was struggling, had a business that wasn't doing well, right? Financially we were having a difficulty. We had to sell a dream house. There's a bunch of things that were going on. And my wife said to me, I'm so worried about money, my hair is falling out.
Literally.
Her hair was falling out because she was so concerned. And she loves me so much and supports me so much in my desire to achieve and my desire to be what I thought was a man, right? That she would stay with me in that car until the end. And that's an amazing emotion, but it doesn't make me feel like I'm holding up my end of the bargain, right? When I was dragging her through my emotional bullshit. Okay, and that's a big problem, right? And a lot of guys that I hang out with are in similar strong relationships, and they resonated deeply with them. They say, I'm not being as the guy that I thought I would, right? You know, there's a voice inside me that says this is who I can be, but I'm not getting there. I'm cycling up and down. And so that was a real wake-up call. And I think prior to any shift in your life, you have to have this wake-up call. There's got to be this bell that rings inside you at such a visceral level that this is no longer acceptable anymore. I have to change. And if you don't recognize that bell when it goes off and it rolls right past you, you're just suffering again. You just keep going back into the suffering cycle again, right, over and over. And so the first stage was recognizing that I was not going to go back to that step again, that space again, ever. And it was unconditional. I'm not doing that ever again. I'm going to do whatever it takes in my life to change the inner voice inside me that says that space, that emotion is not going to happen again. All right, so there was a kickoff, right? When that shift happened, suddenly people started showing up into my life, talking to me about changes that they were making in their life. I was resonating with the creative force, this life force inside me, and it was bringing to me people that were saying, I felt like you, and I recognized that, and this is what I did. So I just start trying them. I just start trying their different things, right? Well, I met a group of men. Okay, you and I are part of that group, right? So we did that. I went to a men's weekend that helped me considerably to strip out a lot of preconceived notions of what kind of guy I should be or what guy I shouldn't be, right? So that helped helped lay the bedrock of definition on that. The challenge is that my relationship wasn't dying in the terms of a relationship. We weren't talking about divorce. We weren't talking about separation. We had kids. The family entity was pretty strong, right? The quality of our life sucked, right? Mostly because of money and a very emotional state that I was in, having not see who I was. I found the courage to change the relationships with some other men that I was having in my life from being a victim to owning the relationship. and so when you're being a victim, you're being powerless. It means like, I can't do anything, therefore I fall into a victim role.
Sure.
And when you're a victim, you now are perpetrating your victim status, your victim emotions on those around you. Okay? And so my wife, family, anybody around me were being victimized by me. Her hair was falling out. Okay? So my victim status, and when you're in it, you don't know you're in it. That's the challenge with being a victim, is you don't know you're in it. Once I found I was transparent and started telling other men in my life what was really going on, because I was not telling a whole lot of people. And once I started telling other guys what was happening, I was becoming more transparent, and I was shifting into an empowered state. Okay, so I started telling these guys. I'd say, hey, like CK, I'd say, hey, man, I can't seem to get my business out of this wacky state I'm in right now. And a guy came to me and says, well, tell me what's going on. And I said, well, I own 15% of the business, but I'm the guy who runs the whole damn thing. I'm the guy who's got all the risk on it. I'm a technology guy. I invented this whole platform. I built the whole thing globally. It runs on Amazon's web services platform. And I've got these great customers, but these two guys who control 50% of the business are not doing anything. Okay? And so I played my cards. I was holding 4 aces in my hand, but playing it like I had some crap hand. This is the shift, right? So I picked up the phone and said, hey, either you sell me your shares of the company and give me a chance to buy you out, or I'm walking. And I was able to buy their shares out. All right. And I went from 15% ownership to 65% ownership. I then controlled it, and I just took one step after another, and I ended up selling the company like 5 or 6 months later, okay, to my number one customer who really wanted it. All right. And I got paid out, and I was able to clear all the debt and get us a little bit of money into another house, right, and get things settled down again, right? And it was a huge win. I mean, it's a huge win. And the thing that happened was that I was not going to stay in that situation anymore. I wasn't going to stay in that one position anymore. I was going to change. Either I was going to walk away from the business and let them do what they're going to do, right? I was prepared for that. Or I was going to convert the business and sell it.
Right.
There was no either way about it, right?
Right.
And so this happened 6 years ago, okay? From there, I was now put in a position of a lot of confidence, man. I mean,
Yeah, I feel it.
This is what Terry Crews was talking about.
I feel it.
Yeah, when Terry Crews would say, hey, Robert, if he was sitting right across the table like you and I right now, he'd say, this is a confidence game. He said that over and over again on Tim Ferriss's podcast. And I go, damn, man, he is right on. He says, it's a confidence game. You walk in with confidence, shit happens. Things happen. People start moving forward. Things go on. People want to fall in behind a confident leader, right? So stuff like that happens. When you lack confidence, fear goes into the rest of the people.
People feel it.
They feel it. When you walk into a room, so I do public speaking. I speak in front of hundreds or thousands of people on a regular basis in the technology industry. When I walk into a place where I am going to speak, I bring my confidence. And I say internally to me, I say, this room is mine. This is my room. Okay? So when I stand up on stage and people are talking and they're all chit-chat and stuff like that, I just stand there until they get quiet. And it doesn't take long. Suddenly, when somebody who's displaying confidence, who's on a stage, who's just looking at people, it's an amazing energy transformation. They all just kind of go,
Yeah.
and they lock in. I know you felt it. I know you've been at places where someone who walks in with confidence, everybody kind of shifts, right? They just change it. So that put me into another opportunity with a startup company.
Before you go there,
Yeah.
I want to unpack something you said.
Okay.
Because we went through it very quickly.
We did.
I'm the kind of guy who would like, hey, wait a minute, that was a moment.
All right. Sounds good.
So, because what you describe a lot of times, this is a common issue. Just being human, stress about money, these things. What I heard was a recognition of the external world. Hey, we lack money. My wife's hair was falling out. But then you recognize it was an internal gain.
Yes.
As a manifestation of what's happening internally. And then you had other men to share in a transparent way what's really going on internally. And then they help you make that internal shift. And you got that clarity, you got that inner power, then you were able to make some power moves with these two other partners. Is that accurate?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay, cool. So to follow up with a couple of points. Some people then say, I want to be radically transparent everywhere. So did you just become transparent to every man that you meet or a select few? Just let's put some qualifiers around it. Okay, so say a little bit more about who are some of those men that get to see the inner world of Robert Christiansen?
That's a really good question. Thanks for parking on that one. I think about the guys that I talked to. There had to be a solid foundation of confidentiality, right? That I had to be able to talk to them about this lack of confidence that I had. That I was falling into this failure role, and I felt like I was rolling down a hill uncontrolled. When that failure feeling would come and go, right? It's like someone with a switch, right?
It's very subtle.
It's subtle, right?
It's so internally, it's like a couple of degrees difference.
It's like trying to, if you've ever done sailing, right? It's like tacking, right? You got to go back and forth, but you're heading to some compass direction. But the real great sailors are the world's best tackers, right? They change directions. They come back and forth against the wind, right? And they're sailing into the wind, but they're using the power of the wind to move the ship.
I love that analogy, by the way.
Yeah, it really is. That I needed daily, or if not every other day, check-ins with these guys to say, hey, you know what? I've been able to go 2 or 4 days, but I'm right back in that funk again. And I would call them up and I'd say, hey, I don't understand what happened. I am falling backward again because of a comment my wife may have said, right? She's expressing her fear because I haven't had enough history to demonstrate that to give her enough confidence that she can know that Robert's got this, right? We're not there yet.
And plus, circumstances don't change that fast.
They don't.
Your internal things change a lot quickly, but the circumstances may take, days, weeks, whatever to change.
But I don't have history with her.
Exactly.
Right? My history with her was, okay, we just went through 5 or 7 years of bullshit, all right? And, oh, by the way, this is 5 or 6 weeks in right now, and you expect me to just accept this. It doesn't work that way, right? So my emotions would get tied up with that, and I'd have to be able to talk to another guy who knows where I am. I'd call him on the phone. I'd spend 5 minutes on him just, saying, hey, I don't understand what's wrong here. I keep getting thrown off course. And he would say, well, what are you doing today? And I would say, well, I'm doing, I was able to start putting a consistent morning routine together. This is a good unpack, by the way. I'm going back now.
Yeah, please.
Because right now it's so routine for me today, right?
I got you, yeah.
I was not able to consistently meditate prior to that. I'd have fits and starts, and I knew meditation was going to be a good thing for me. But in my mid-40s, I was having challenges, right? Every time I closed my eyes, my head would just spin off in left field. But something happened there. He would ask me, well, have you been able to, at least sit quietly for a couple minutes today? And I'd say, no. And I said, well, why don't you just do that right now?
Start there.
Just breathe. Go into the car, close the doors, go sit in the parking lot and close your eyes and breathe. Right? So I learned a basic, simple technique of letting your air out on the exhale be longer than the air inhale, right? So prior to this podcast, right, we did a little breathing where I do a 4-count in, I hold for 5 counts, and then my exhale is going to be 7 counts or longer. It's a fundamental calming of my nervous system of the fight or flight instinct. And this is old, meditative techniques, right? There's nothing new here, but it worked.
Well, there's a reason why it lasted for hundreds and thousands of years.
Right. It's good stuff. So I started there, and I had this guy named Neil. He taught me just right now, man, Robert, just walk. Go outside and get some sunshine, right? Look at the sky. Take a walk around the parking lot. So now, consistently, sometime around 11 or 11:30, most days, I'll do a walk around the parking lot 2 or 3 times just to get some sunshine, give my brain a break, give myself a little calmingness. And it's such a good grounding. And I feel better, right? I physically feel better. So I started picking up some of these initial techniques from these guys that were next to me. And the reason they were showing up is because I was willing to take it in, right? If you're not willing, you're not going to hear it. So that was one thing.
And you also were willing to execute.
I think it's even one more willing, is I was willing to call them. Therein lies the trick right there. If I'm not willing to pick up the phone or text somebody that says I'm in trouble, and to recognize my emotional state as being that negative falling back state, I will never get better. I have to have somebody around me that I can connect with that's going to suggest, take this action or do this thing, right? That's why I think coaching and having people around you who are your trusted partners in life is so critical. A man on his own is a hard road. Right? I think any human on our own is a hard road, right? We're social creatures. But a man who has another man or a group of men around them that are walking with him in helping him get better, it's an unbelievable emotional guidance system, really. It's like this thing that pushes me down this path, right?
Thank you for sharing that. That's a beautiful journey. Over the weekend, I went to a meditation retreat. I had a realization that is very similar to this conversation. I have thousands and thousands of acquaintances over decades of my life. I have hundreds of friends, but a handful of brothers.
Yeah.
To me. And what makes someone a brother is the longevity of the relationship, the depth of the relationship, but also their willingness to really shine a mirror for me. That level of trust, confidentiality, really showing each other, what's really the internal grappling that we have as human beings.
Grappling is the great word for that, by the way.
Yeah, it's a couple of degrees of grappling, like things we wrestle with. Sometimes we don't even have words for those.
We have to tell stories. Yeah, that's why stories are so powerful for us. They give meaning to the emotions I'm feeling, but I can't put words to.
Yeah. And so it's weird to me sometimes when someone calls me brother without that relationship. I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, do we have that level of relationship?
Are we there yet, right?
Yeah.
Well, I call you brother, for sure.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. You and I, we have that kind of relationship where we can have the privilege to shine mirrors for each other, right?
It's a good
It's
thing.
an earned position.
It is an earned thing. That is so true. It's really interesting that you say that because it's so easy to break that trust, right? It is. I find it comes about by a simple act of, does somebody follow up with what they said they were going to do? So often, hey, call me, like this podcast, right? You asked me, hey, Robert, I'd like to have you on my podcast. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. And you said, I'll send you something to set a date. I responded, okay, and now we're here, right? And we were at the place we said we were going to be at the time that we said we were going to be there. And we're in that process of whatever's next is going to come next, right? That simple follow-through process is not in a lot of people. And that's I don't know if that's new or if that's a long-time human thing. I don't have the context around it. But what I know is that the guys that earn a space with me as a brother do that. They're there when they say they're going to be there. And if they're not, they give me enough head time to say, hey, let's figure it out and go find something else to go do.
Yeah, for sure. In my mind, think of it as a bank account, as an analogy. And that promises and requests fulfilled, you're depositing into that bank account.
That's interesting.
Now that deepens the relationship further and further.
That's a really good way of looking at it. I
Right.
like that. It's his story, right?
Yeah. Versus if you don't make that deposit with the promises and requests fulfilled, then it's like, can I really count on this person? Because he or she said it's going to be here in this particular time, that there's excuses or whatever not fulfilled by the time it's going to say it's going to fulfill. I'm going to subconsciously or consciously, I'm going to question, can I really count on this person when it counts?
That's a really good point. The earning of trust is like in a banking account of requests and fulfillment. That's I like it. Would you say promises?
And requests.
Promises and requests. There's a good takeaway from today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I'm going to use that one in my own little repertoire.
Yeah,
right?
please.
I'm going to say, hey, CK gave me this. I'll tell him 2 more times, and then it becomes mine.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. It's all good. All good. Take it. So I interrupted your journey. So you were gonna say you now sold your company, joined another startup.
Yep.
Okay. Continue, please.
Yeah. So the previous company I sold was a company called Cloud Nation, and in the cloud computing industry, it was just taken off. This is 2013 when we sold, and Amazon Web Services was really breaking glass at that time, and not a whole lot of people were plugged into what they were doing in the industry. But the company I just sold was built on top of that platform, right? And I remember using it, and I was saying, this is going to change the world. I remember saying to myself, and I go, I want to be involved with the next company who's going to ride this wave. So I interviewed 2 places. This was really crazy. I went to the Amazon show in 2013, and I was walking the halls looking around for opportunities and stuff like that. And I needed to get a job, right? I couldn't be an entrepreneur anymore. I needed to get a job.
Well, hold on 1 second. Why couldn't you be an entrepreneur again?
That was my thinking at the time. Right? I didn't want to have the burden of payroll on me. Okay?
Yeah. Payroll is one of those things that's... one could call it burden, one could call it responsibility, but when someone else's livelihood is in your hands, it's a heavy responsibility.
You know what? Until you have to write checks for somebody else's livelihood, you have no idea what it's like to run a business. It's like jumping out of an airplane, right? Until you actually put something on your back and jump out of an airplane and trust that the chute's going to open, you have no way of knowing what that's going to be like. And until... I don't think someone is a true entrepreneur until that actually happens. That's my definition of an entrepreneur.
Sure.
Okay. So I went and got the nearest thing to that, right, in this industry. And I was walking the halls, and this guy named Chris Greendale, he's a long-time successful investor, launching companies. He done multiple billion-dollar exits, right? He's just a great dude. I love him. And he steps into the hallway while I'm walking in. The show is packed, right? And it's in this little corner of the Venetian in Las Vegas. And he says to me, he goes, "Hey, young man, what do you do?" And I looked at him right now. I said, "I don't do anything right now. I'm unemployed. I sold my company and I got no place to go." Yuck, 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 laugh, laugh, laugh. And it just struck a chord with him. He goes, takes a card out of his shirt and he hands it to me. He says, "Call me."
Wow.
And I go,
"That's it? That was
it. That was
wow.
it." He says, "Call me." He says, "I want to talk to a guy like you." All right. It was all feel. It was all vibe. I was super transparent. I had no job. I had no place to go. I sold my company. But that stitching together of that transparency with that guy right at that moment who stepped in front of me amongst, there must have been 1,000 people in that aisle. It was packed. And so at the same time, I was interviewing with Amazon, right? Amazon Web Services, and they only had maybe 10 or 15 people in their professional services group, which is now thousands. And I had 2 interviews. That's the only 2 I took. I really wanted the job with Amazon because I thought that that's where I would want to be, and the ones with Chris Greendale and a company called Cloud Technology Partners. And my confidence, though, was high.
Yeah, your inner game is strong.
My inner game was strong because I just pulled off a transaction, right? I sold a company, right? And, it wasn't, knock down the world money or like that, but it was a transaction.
You did it, yeah.
I did it, right?
Yeah,
I pulled
you
it
did
from zero to nothing, and we pulled it off, right?
Yeah, you did a single double, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly, right? And so I didn't get the job at Amazon. They turned me down. Okay. Now I passed through all of these things with flying colors until I got to the last interview with these guys. They call them bar raisers in the Amazon world. Bar raisers are people who go around and they would say, "Hey, CK, this is where I think you should be in your career, and why aren't you there? What can we do to get you there?" They're constantly raising the bar. That's their job, right? And I knew that I was going to meet him. I'd studied the whole interview process and stuff. And I remember specifically the moment they said, "Well, what questions do you have for us?" And I said, "Well, what do you guys do to make sure that the people here are feel like they're on a mission and that they're part of something?"
It's a good question.
They didn't have an answer. And they go, "What do you mean?" And I went, "Oh." The green flags I had up to that point instantly turned yellow. And I went, a deep thing inside me goes, "That's not a priority." All right. And so I didn't let up. I said, "Well, what I mean by that is, do you guys come together in some kind of social situation that says, hey, we're supporting each other and we're on this goal and we're trying to drive towards purpose, right? What's our purpose and stuff?" Flew right over them like it was a Frisbee that they couldn't catch, right? They didn't know what I was talking about. And eventually they got to finally saying, "Yeah, well, we have a pizza party when we do a release on a product." And I go, and I knew at that moment the interview was over and it was done and I wasn't going to get the job. I was walking down the streets of Seattle, down on 8th Street, saying to myself, "Fuck." Just like that. Just saying to myself, but I was still hoping, right? So I was painting red flags green, right? Just saying, okay. And I remember calling one of my guys, this guy named Otis, and Otis just listened, right? And then I got the call about 3 days later, we're not going to hire you. And I thought to myself, I was pissed, right? But at the same time, Chris Greendale and the CTP people wanted me. They wanted what I had, right? So I take the job there. And I'm the one guy who understands the whole Amazon world, right? And so we start building the practice. Okay, we start building the consulting practice. And what our whole job was to convince large organizations, big companies, financial companies, the biggest ones actually. You name any of the top 10 financial companies in the world, they've worked with us. And all the security systems that are now part of cloud computing today, we established and worked with them to build, right? So just this ground knowledge stuff, the confidence that I had back then in my abilities to do business in this world was like at a all-time high for me personally, because I was falling back on what I know that I knew.
Right.
And these guys let me run. They just let me run. They were the finance guys. They were guiding the ship. All right. The whole deal was to build this thing and sell it. That was the deal. Right. And I knew that, and I knew what run.
That was the mission.
That was the mission. And we ran that company for 5 years, okay, and we sold it to Hewlett Packard Enterprises, okay, and it was a great exit. It was a great exit, right? And
For those of you that don't know, Robert is smiling really big right now.
yes. And it was great. I wasn't a money guy in, but I was like right on the heels of those folks that were the money guys.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So I always said to the people who were in that pool with me, I said, these guys know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Let's draft on them. Right? It's like being behind an ocean liner, right? And you're in behind the draft and you're just being pulled along. Okay, let's draft on these guys and learn. So I got a front row seat to what is now easily the biggest, most single tectonic shift in technology ever, to me, ever, is the consumption of cloud computing globally, the where it is right now. I mean, it's stunning. And so, I'm now with Hewlett-Packard Enterprises. They've been really good to me. They listen to what we're talking about and stuff, and we're changing within them, right? So the next is what's next, right? But let's just say that it's given me a space by which I could keep going back to the men in my life to say, hey, here's where I am. I don't know if I have the confidence to step into that CIO conversation with a Fortune 10 company. All right? Think about that. I mean, you're talking to a guy or a gal who runs 30,000 technology people and has a $10 billion budget. And you're going to try to convince them to use the cloud for what they're doing on premise.
Right.
Right? You better have your shit together.
Right.
You better know what you're talking about.
Right.
And so to have that conversation with the teams that were around me and the amazing men and women who we come together with to make all this thing happen, it's stunning. And it all started with Chris Greendale.
Yeah.
Stepping in and handing me a card because I was transparent and confident.
Well, actually, let me backtrack for 1 second.
Yeah.
From my observation, it started with you.
Yes.
Internally, right? You were in a funk. You found your game with the help of your men.
Yep.
And then you made some power moves.
Yep.
Made a single, made a double.
Yep.
Met a guy in power, or influence.
Yep.
Chris. Follow your intuition.
I did. That was
right?
the part. Yep.
Right? Instead of following through, try to oh my God, I should have gone to Amazon. Please take me. Right? Going back. You follow your intuition, join Chris's team, draft behind
Yep.
these financial guys.
Just learning from those guys.
Learning. You know your craft, of course. And then you step into that new platform, following the momentum, build your team, have a big exit. Now you're stepping up to a bigger game.
Yes.
Right? So Confucius said, self-mastery, family, nation, world. Bigger and bigger platform.
Yes.
But it's fractal. Starts always with
starts
self.
beginning. First domino.
Right? First domino. Oh, no matter what, things don't go well. Hence why when I talk to people, I ask them a series of questions, but always kind of try to get an idea what's going on internally. Because that's where the internal compass starts. A couple of degrees over, as you said, tacking, it's going to make a huge external shift.
It is.
Right? So did I hear your story accurately?
You did, but there's another complete other side to this.
Please, let's hear it.
While I'm going through this, I would fall back into a couple of series of mental states, emotional states that I didn't understand. I mean, I never had it so good. I mean, I'm serious, right? So coming out and advancing through with Chris Greendale, another guy named John Rounds, who was his partner, and a guy named Eric Sebesta. They were the original founders. They would say things to me, go do it. Just go. We got you. That level of belief in me or the teams that we were working with and the things that we were trying to get done was ridiculously empowering. I mean, okay, now it's about, do I trust myself, okay, to do that? And what happened was I would come off the rails for about a week or two, right? And I didn't understand what was wrong with me.
What do you mean coming off the rails?
Emotionally. So I would have these free-floating anxiety attacks, okay, while I was on an airplane flying someplace, and I didn't know, was it butterflies? I don't know what was wrong with me. I'd have these, for lack of better words, they were diversion attacks. I'd eat too much sugar, for example, right? I'd somehow gain $10,000 in credit card debt, and I wasn't paying attention. I have the cash in the bank. How come I'm not paying the credit card? Right? So there was weird behaviors that were showing up in my life. As the more I succeeded, these behaviors became more apparent. Okay? And back to that darker side, right? And what I realized was that there was an inner voice to me that said I didn't deserve the success that I was having. That's the short answer. Okay, that there was a worthiness issue inside me that was holding me back from becoming that next level. And a book that changed me, completely changed me, was written by a guy named Gay Hendricks called The Big Leap. Now, The Big Leap is about people who are going up above their comfort zone, what they call their upper limit, right? And it's an upper limit of success. Now, it could be in relationships, it could be in health, it could be in career, it could be in finances, it could be spiritual, right? But there's like 8 areas he talks about. But he is really renowned for working with executives of large companies who are trying to make those big leaps, okay? And they don't know what's wrong. And so you see this all the time with lottery winners, right? And sports figures and folks who succeed at a level, and then they just burn their winnings down, right? They just do silly things. Right?
Irrational, silly
behaviors, and you just look at them and go, what are you doing, right? What? You cheated on your wife when you're, what? Right? And the whole thing comes crashing down because they're at a level that they simply do not know how to handle because there's something wrong. There's a big leap. So this book, I started implementing there's a bunch of mantras and meditations in the book, and I started doing them every morning. And every time I started feeling awkward, I'd do this stuff and it'd settle me down. One of them that I got from another book way back when was from The Master Key, okay? And it goes like this. I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. I'm whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Believers and supporters surround me. That is burned into me. So anytime I start feeling wobbly, like I'm in an upper limit problem, I repeat those and I get grounded. Believers and supporters surround me. Everywhere I go, people want to talk about success. They want to talk about doing something good. They want to do the next thing. I'm whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. So that book then pushed me into, well, why is there an upper limit? What's going on? What is the reason for the upper limit? And from where I come from and all the studying I've done and all the research I've done, it's just endless, get this research paper, go look at this thing, go talk to these spiritual people. It's like that. I've come to a fundamental conclusion that I have a worthiness amount, that my worthiness is like clay, and it can either be added to or pulled away. And it's an identity inside me that can be dark or can be light. And it's my self-worth. And self-worth, when increased, naturally lifts confidence. Naturally. When I say I am worthy of a good exit with CTP, I am confidently stepping into the exit with CTP, with my company, right? When I feel I'm worthy of selling my company, I step into selling the company. It's kind of like riding a bike. If I'm pedaling and I point it towards something that looks really cool, which is my worthiness, imagine the front wheel and your handlebars are pointing towards that direction. I feel worthy of heading that direction. I naturally start pedaling more towards it. I find the energy to pedal towards whatever that is, and I avoid the things that I don't want. What ends up also happening is that my perspective widens. So you can't see my hands right now, but I'm as if I have my hands cupped around my eyes, and I widen my view, my perspective views when my worthiness goes up. Now I see more. Now I see more opportunities. I see more doors, and I step into those. So that whole education process got me to write the book, The Bug in Our Brain. And the bug in our brain is worthiness. And so the book is about how do you raise your worthiness, how to identify poor worthiness language, emotions, images in your life, so that happened, and it now have become a fundamental teaching thing that I go through with all my clients and all the people I work with and anybody I'm around. My job is to elevate and to help you elevate your worthiness.
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
So let me unpack that just for a little
Sure.
bit. So you recognize during those times when you're flying, having anxiety attacks and things like that, that internally, and then you jump into the big leap, and then that really opens up new ideas of this idea of worthiness.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. I can empathize for sure, 100%. I know where my internal game isn't strong when it is strong.
Right.
Right. That I am worthy versus am I not enough? Like then I try to artificially inflate it with more knowledge, and then so here's actually an interesting nuance that only you know, not you, Robert, but you, whoever is listening, that you know. If it's artificial, I'm pumping myself up externally, mantra, whatever, then it will appear as arrogance. Versus someone who is truly grounded, I am worthy, doesn't matter what you think of me, like I know who I am. Authentic worthiness, right?
Right.
How do you discern where's the line between the two?
It's about being clear.
Say
It's
more
what's
about
called,
that, please.
Okay, it's called dense energy in your heart.
Okay,
I'm going to
so-
shift gears pretty hard.
Yeah,
Okay?
let's hear it.
All right.
Please.
So, Michael Singer, he's an author, wrote a great book called The Untethered Soul.
Beautiful book.
Okay, in there he talks about energy locked in your heart and how to clear it. All right, he truly believes, along with a lot of Eastern philosophy, that the heart is at the center of energy, and that energy gets locked in there, and painful energy, right? Much like Michael Singer uses an analogy that it's like a thorn in your skin, right? And just pull it out and deal with the pain and let it heal. But we build these fences around the thorn to protect it from getting poked at. But we got to go back to the pain. We got to go into the heart, recognize the injury that I have, and release it. Okay, and that's a clearing. Okay, that's a clearing. That's a process of clearing, and the process of clearing is to know where your injuries are, know where your pains are, what happened as a child, as an adult. You know, she left me, right? Somebody, if men and women, you know, somebody attacked me, right? There was an accident that happened, no fault, but I'm angry. Maybe God abandoned me. Pick a topic, right? You know, that's going to cause you injury. And what I found to be true in my life is that I had to revisit that event to clear it. Mm-hmm. I was not able to clear that what they call dense energy in your heart by just wishing it away or talking it away. I had to emotionally go back to that spot in time. All right. So I remember one time I was attacked as a teenager in a bathroom. Okay. These kids were picking on me. I was a freshman. They were juniors, and they attacked me in a bathroom. Right. They made me push a penny around a toilet seat. They thought it was really funny. All right. But it was buried in my consciousness, and every time I thought about it, it just made me angry. Right. Until I was able to go and unwind that story with somebody I trusted. All right. I had to carry that energy in me. It was like that thorn, and I built all these little fences around, like Michael Singer did, right? What he's talking about. And until I was able to go back there and unpack that and recognize, you know, that they too are on their path, and that where would they be now, and what would they say to me today if I was to run into them? And it was really interesting. I remember working through this, and I thought to myself, they would either be very, very sorry for what they had done, okay, or they would ignore me completely and try to avoid me. And either way, I was okay with. So why was I holding on to that story? Why was I holding on to that thing, right? That whole piece. And I was able to let it go a bit, you know, and I worked on that over and over. But that was just one of, you know, how many, everybody's got it, right?
Sure,
you know,
of course. It's part of being human.
It's part of being human.
Yeah.
But as soon as I was able to start loosening up that energy inside me, I was now able to start recognizing what's my authentic self, right? How do I come from that confident spot that you're talking about of my authentic self? I had to be more clear inside me so I can recognize who I am. Am I an injured little boy? Okay. Or am I, getting clean, getting more clear inside me so I can be my more authentic self so that when my confidence is there, it's not looking like ego or pride or, I'm driving this really fast car. Look at me.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's, if you don't mind, let's get a little tactical, because we can intellectualize anything.
Yes.
So I've done, landmark, and where we talk about things like that. So yes, intellectually,
Right.
I understand.
That I'm putting meaning on that.
Right.
So,
All that stuff. Like totally. It's a beautiful model, great framework. But what are some of the tactical things that you've experienced that actually really help release this, concretize?
So you want to go there?
No, this letting go.
Yep.
Versus, because it's easy to say I'm letting go of things, and then you can talk about it, you can journal it, you can meditate on it, you can talk with a friend on it, you can talk to a therapist, you can do psychedelics, you can just a lot of things that one can do. From your point of view, personal experience of working with clients, what are some of the best tactical things that people have taken on to let things go concretely?
3 things I can think of right now.
Yes, let's go.
Okay. Number 1, learn to meditate.
Okay.
Meditation.
Any specific kind of meditation?
I find myself doing more TM these days.
Transcendental meditation.
Having a mantra, repeating the mantra over and over again. There are those that will teach it, and they do charge money for TM, and I think that's appropriate. Okay.
Yeah.
And there are those that will do more, if you're in the Buddhist path, there's a love and kindness methodology, right? You can do that as well. There's probably 10 different ways to go meditate. For me, I tend to go towards the Buddhist practice initially. That's where I started. But in the last year or so, I've been adopting what would TM be like, right? I wanted to try it, and I've been finding it very useful for me. So I do that 20 minutes every morning. I'm up at 5 a.m. I do my little things, and then I sit for 20 minutes. Right? It's just part of my day. But starting out, that's what's number 1. Number 2, the Ho'oponopono prayer. Okay, that was introduced to me through a bizarre set of circumstances, right, where I found myself actually practicing the prayer to get over a resentment that I had for somebody. And I love you, please forgive me, thank you, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, right? Just the whole series of that. But there was an addition to it that comes from a 3,000-year-old practice. I can't remember, I think it's an Indian practice, where while you're doing it, you literally, metaphorically, and in your mind's eye, with your eyes closed, you take the flesh off your body and you hand it to the person, and they eat it.
Wow. Interesting.
Because their energy, if they're angry at you or you're angry at them, is that they want their pound of flesh. And unless they actually get the energy in that process to do it, then they are not satisfied.
So it's a mental image for energy transference.
Well, exactly. Well, let me just give the practice. So I close my eyes and I hold the image of the individual who I've done this with. I just did this like 3 days ago because there was somebody I was mad at, right? And I am so sensitive to that emotion of being angry, right? I go, I'm not going to tolerate that for an instant, right? So I'm going to do whatever I can take so I don't feel that I don't want to go there. So I close my eyes, I hold their image in my mind. Now I see them right now. I'm literally doing it right now. So I see that person now, and they're happy because I've already solved it. Right, like that. But the image is back then. I did I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then I would take my hand on my thigh here. I'd grasp my thigh, pull it up in my hand. In my mind's eye, I've got a piece of my flesh, and I reach out. And that individual takes it out of my hand, and depending on their anger, will show me how they're consuming it. Now, it could be easy, but I don't try to change the energy. I don't try to guide it. I just let it happen in my mind's eye. And this particular time, this man literally almost tore my hands off while he was eating it. Okay, he was so pissed, right? And I had to do it 6 or 8 or 10 times. I'd go from each thigh, I'd go to my shoulder, I'd go like this, I reach back out and stuff until he finally slowed down, and then he threw up.
He purged.
He purged, right? He couldn't take all of it in that he wanted. He was unable to consume what he thought he needed in his vengeance. And then he collapsed and he started crying. And then the last act is I take my heart, my beating heart, I pull it out of my chest and I hand it to him, and they never take it, ever. I have yet to have somebody take the heart out of my hand because they're done. They're done eating me.
This is in your mind's eye.
In my mind's eye, right? And then they sit, and then they finally tell me what's wrong. And then I say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you, and I love you. And that practice has probably saved me more often than anything. That one practice.
Question. So then what happened to your body in that?
It's whole. It comes back to whole.
Comes back whole. Okay.
Comes back whole. Then my mind's eye, and I'm settled, and I just let it sit there. I don't try to change it. I let the energy. And if it comes back, I do it again. But it's not nearly as intense. Now, for some people who I've had long-standing anger with, like those two men in the bathroom, right? I had to do it 5 or 6 times. Okay, but it went away. And the only reason I bring that story back is because it was on a shelf in my mind, and I pulled it out, and this is what happened.
Yeah. It no longer has any hold on you.
It has no hold.
Yeah, it's just
power.
like a memory. Yeah, it's like a story you can tell to illustrate a point.
Right, so the energy in my heart has now, it's gone, right? That locked-in negative, dense energy around that injury is gone. And I don't let those energies stay with me. And then the third practice, I'll pivot to the last one, is what they call EFT tapping, right? Where you if you don't know that practice, it's a tapping on energy zones, kind of acupuncture areas on your body, where you use tapping to say a statement around a situation. Although this man used to be really pissed at me, today I know he and I are in loving kindness in a walking way today. Something like that, right? You kind of bring together the old and the new, and you're tapping on different parts of your body.
Anywhere?
No. You have a very specific pattern. Okay. I suggest going online. There's a number of YouTube videos about it. There's a practice. There's actually a certification for it.
Oh, interesting.
Right. It's typically used for PTSD, for people who are having some severe trauma, emotional traumas. And
you found it to be actually effective.
Oh, very effective for me.
No kidding.
Yeah. It's called EFT tapping. Those were the 3 things I use to clear the energy. Now, there has been a few other times where I've been with licensed individuals who have taken me and regressed me back to almost a hypnotic state of that moment. I'm still conscious and stuff, but I'm actually acting out the events.
In your mind?
No, verbally.
Oh, verbally.
Yeah.
You're describing
I'm
it.
Describing it.
I see.
I'm using the voices of the 2 people involved. I'm actually acting it out.
Interesting.
Right? It's a path that psychologists use, and you got to be really careful with it. Find somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. That will take you through, and licensed clinicians will use that as well sometimes.
Sure.
And they use that on me. I don't know if that was the one thing or not. I'm not quite certain. But those 3 things I can do. I can meditate. I can do the Ho'oponopono prayer. And if it's really hard, I can do my flesh thing, right? And then last one is if it's really difficult, I can use some EFT tapping. But I haven't had to use tapping in years now.
So for you, the tapping is the most powerful. That is interesting.
It is. The tapping is, so if you don't know, you tap the so I'm using my left hand in the air, and I'm using my right hand, my fingers, to tap the karate chop part, my palm, right, the edge of my palm, and you'll say something. Let's say that you're having difficulty with sugar. Okay, so I'm tapping my palm. I say, although I used to consume sugar to avoid my emotional state, today I know that sugar holds no power over me, and I eat nothing but healthy and good foods. Okay, and there's this rewiring that goes on inside you, and then I go to the top of my head, and I do it at the top of my very top of my head. I do my temples, above my eyes, below my eyes, right above my lips, between my nose and my lips, on my chin, my solar plexus here, and on my sides.
Interesting.
And that's taught online. That's where I learned it.
That's beautiful. You know, when I was younger, I'm a technology guy. I'm super in my head. Well, no, let me actually correct myself. I have in the past super in my head. And these type of things, when I first heard it, it was even like hypnosis. I was like super hokey, like whatever.
It's pretty woo woo.
Pretty woo woo out there. I don't believe it.
I need to wear tie dye while I'm doing it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but as I get older and hopefully a little wiser, I realize the integration between the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit.
Yes.
It really is integrated. My body is not just carrying my head.
No.
It's totally integrated.
When I recognize that you and I are actually exchanging energy, I mean, through whatever ether that's between us right now, that you and I are exchanging, we're rotating through this energy back and forth to each other. When I accepted that the physical distance between us is nothing. When I accepted that I have the ability to exchange energy with you when I focus on that, all sorts of doors open for me. So when I speak in public, I am mindfully exchanging energy with the audience as a focal point.
So in your mind, your words are landing to them, the energy are coming back to you.
More than that, it's my physical presence, it's my body language, it's how I'm walking, it's how I present myself. I am a prism by which energy is traveling through.
Like a vessel.
A vessel. No, it's
prism.
Like glass. It's like a when light goes through a prism, it turns into a rainbow, right? It
Correct.
refracts.
Right.
Yeah, I look at it that way, that I am that prism for that event at that moment, right? All energy is coming through me. I am not what they want. This is really important as a leader, as a speaker, as a man. It's not Robert they want. They want what's traveling through me. They want the energy that is coming through me. They want to connect with the life force that's traveling through me, and however I'm presenting. What got them there was a technology talk, right? Right, on Microsoft Azure's latest security things, right? I happen to be talking. But what holds them in their seat is my energy. That's what keeps them there, and they're not going to remember a dang thing I say. But they are for sure going to remember how they feel.
Right.
Right? The event and the emotion of that event will get them talking about, oh, hey, that speaker, Robert really did. That was really pretty interesting. What did he say? I don't know. I got maybe one thing out of it, and I spoke for an hour. But so, CK, I think about what you and I are doing, right? We're just flowing a consciousness between us. And when I accept that is happening, just everything changed. I think it's pretty interesting that we got to that point here in this conversation, actually. How did we get to this spot, right?
Thank you for that. That's really, really beautiful. Man, you dropped so many gems. How are we doing on time, by the way? Are you okay?
Yeah, we got another 15 minutes.
15 minutes,
whatever
cool.
we want to do, man.
So speak a little bit more about the whole energy work. Like, speak on your journey. How do you come to the conclusion there? Because you're a technology guy.
I am such a technology
right?
guy. I'm such a geek.
You and I, we relate on many different levels.
Yeah.
Kindred brothers in that way, because I can't speak for you. I can speak for myself. Heady guy in the past, realizing, okay, we're more than just our mind. There's definitely more to that in life.
Yeah.
So speak more about how you got to the whole idea, the mental model around energy, and how do you actually use that as a way to enhance your life, your relationships, your business, really enriching your life that way?
There came a time that I had to recognize that there was more working here than I could measure. I'm a scientist. I went to school for science. I practically got the scientific method tattooed on my forehead, right? If you can't measure it, it doesn't exist.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. I mean, that's how we were taught.
This world we're in right now is all evidence-based. There's such a movement right now in evidence-based action, right? How do I life hack? I can only life hack something if I got evidence that it works, right? So, God bless Tim Ferriss, right? But I think he's making a big shift in his own personal life again. If I can't measure it, it doesn't exist. Well, how do you measure love? Show me the meter that I can plug into that tells me that love exists, right? There is none. However, love is what it is, right? It's an energy, it's a feeling, it's an emotion. It's all connected like this. And when something happens with my wife, and we call each other almost exactly the same time to talk about something, there's a connection there that I cannot deny. It exists. So, assuming that presence is there, that I am going to release the need to understand why something exists. Release it.
Wait, one more time. Lost me.
Okay.
I'm going to release.
Release the need to understand why something exists. This is this thing that's going on in our society right now, is that I need to go find out why that works. Right? We have this big science and technology is flying at us at Mach speed today, right? I mean, it's going faster than ever before.
Right.
Moore's law is left in the dust here.
Right. Singularity coming in no time.
Right. The issue is that people are over-rotating into that to me right now, while at the same time denying the fact of the connectivity and the spiritual connection, our soul's requirement for connection. Our soul's requirement absolutely have to be connected. Otherwise, we die. Infants have to be held. They have to have love, right? There's something there that's connecting us. Let me give you an example. My wife and I taught our children when they were 3 that if they were ever lost, to go find a mother. And you know what? They got it. And so we took them to a supermarket and we said, show me a mother. And they literally picked out every single mom. And they said, well, you get lost, go find a mom. And kids know that. They instinctively know that. How do they know that? Right? There's something there, right? There's an energy there. There's an understanding there. They're born with that. So when I accepted and released the need to know that if there is evidence in my life that this is working, but I don't understand why it's working, and I just decided to say, okay, I don't need to know. Let it go. Instead of figuring out why this particular technology needs to work, I'm just going to use the technology.
Yeah,
So-
you don't need to understand how electricity works. Just
That's
flip
right.
on the switch.
Flick on the switch.
Yeah.
Right?
Because the reality is because I'm a scientist myself,
Right.
if you really get down to the nitty gritties, why it works, nobody understands why it works.
That's right. Well, but look at light. Light behaves in a way, either a wave or a particle, depending on how you look at it.
That's right.
Okay, so my observation of the test screws up the test.
Right.
What does that tell you? That tells you that I have energy into the system, and my energy is messing up the system. So how do I even know what the system is? I mean, so this whole need to measure psychological behaviors and best practices and all these different things like that, I totally recognize that, and I take a lot out of it.
Right.
But I am not going to ignore the obvious.
Right.
That literal obvious evidence that's what's inside of me, that my belief and my confidence has power, and that power allows me to move forward in a way of good, and that good is infectious and people love it.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting mental model that I use personally. I love the yin-yang sign the older I get. Yin-yang sign is just such a beautiful model to look at. There's a little bit of white
Says everything.
in black. There's a little black in white.
Back to my original thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So in me, so the way I look at it, I use it for a lot of duality ways I look at the world. There's the sovereign self. My name means strong will, right? Sovereignty. But then on the flip side, surrendering, flow. And I'm asserting, I'm unpacking what you're saying. You're not saying to say go to the extremes. Hey, the world's all about technology, or the world's all about love, the intangible things.
Right.
Striking that balance, striking that harmony between the two is a way to help us operate on the highest level in this realm.
Totally agree.
Is that what you're
Totally agree.
articulating?
It is. I have a tendency to swing all the way to the technology side. I love bits and bytes and speeds and feeds, right? And
Science,
engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love that stuff. But that little bit of black in the white, or the white in the black, is that recognition that I am a connected human being. Love connects me to the world. And when I hug somebody, when I see them, right, they feel that connection. And in the technology world, it's so desperately needed. I mean, one thing I didn't know about is that CTP, all the teams I work with like that, I hug them. And I tell them I love them. And that when they first meet me, they almost like someone put some electric shock on them, right? They're like, oh, I don't know, Robert's hugging me, right? This is business. We're not supposed to be talking like that. 2 or 3 times, they expect it, and they wait for it. And I remember one man, his name's Dave. I love Dave to death. And he said, they didn't get my hug. And I went, wow, right? And I, purposefully, big hug, right? And it just struck me how much our technology industry needs just that compassion piece on the side of it, right? Just to bring it together, to make it whole.
We're human.
Right.
Bring that humanity into technology as well.
Well, here's this is my mission, by the way. I don't know if I've told you.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's hear it.
I'm all about bringing efficacy, self-avocation, worthiness to the technology world. That's my goal, is to help technologists find a little more humanness in their work, right? And it's not a easy thing to do for most men or women. They don't know what that means, but they know it when they feel it.
Right.
Okay. And so when I bring it, they go, I want more, whatever that is, but I don't know what that is. So it's pretty interesting.
How do you actually articulate that? Because, the way I look at it, our body is something, the external world is something we can point to. This is a black table.
Right.
That is my muscle. I want a bigger muscle. I want a bigger black table. I want more money in my account, whatever. That's the external. What we're talking about here, the self-worthiness, is so like in the internal of the internal. How do you, and it's intangible. How do you talk about it? Because when you ask anyone, do you have self-worth? Everyone would tell you, yeah, I do.
I do.
But that's without looking. If you actually look, even if some of the most successful people, you look at what they do, it's a desperate cry for, please give me self-worth because I have none.
Right. You tell me you like me enough, I'm worthy of it.
That's right. Some of the most, like the biggest celebrities, whoever, the social media stars, whatever. It's the desperate cry for, please validate me.
Yep.
So going back to this, so then how do you describe this very intangible quality that every human being have?
We don't start there.
Okay, so please.
So we went pretty deep, in this hour plus that we've been doing this, and you got into Robert's head pretty far. But that's not how we go to market. That's not how we talk to people. The first level is almost always money. It's almost always money. I want to succeed better so I can have better prosperity in my life. Prosperity means free time, by the way. Okay, I have free time to go do things I want to go do. Right? Money brings prosperity, which gives me more free time. Okay, that's what money does. It also flows abundance to other people in the world and benefits them. So we start with, how do we help you do better in your business world, in your technology career? And that starts with efficacy or self-worth, basically. And you say, hey, what do we need to do to elevate your confidence? And we talk in terms like that. We don't usually go to the worthiness conversation because people don't connect at that level. They connect at the confidence level, and they connect at, well, how do I make my career better? Communications is the number one vehicle. Teaching better communications. So how do I talk to the rest of the world is almost exclusively the one keystone that improves their life. Okay, so when you start becoming more clear with your conversations, more clear with how you communicate to people, how you stand, how you hold yourself, your actual physical presence, how you whiteboard, right, how do you share information, how you type an email, those things are notoriously bad in technology people, right? So you're a good communicator. You're an exception.
Oh, thank you.
Let's be clear, right? If you talk to anybody in corporate America today and they say, who are the worst communicators in your organization, they're going to point straight to the computer people every time, 99% of the time, because computer people have been enjoying the really good benefit of being able to hold sacred knowledge that no one else wants to learn, and that people have to tolerate their behavior.
I think that's worthy repeating one more time, please.
Technology people for the last 40 years or so have had sacred knowledge. Businesses run on technology today, almost exclusively on technology. The people who know how to make that technology work have sacred knowledge on how to make that work so that the businesses will work. Without them, the businesses stop. Okay? Because of that very pivotal position, they can be jerks. They can talk poorly. They can speak to people inappropriately.
It can be prickly.
They can be very prickly and leave me alone. I'm doing my job. I'll tell you when I'm done. Okay? Why are you next to me? It's supposed to be working in this way. Just bad, what I call bad communications. That world is changing right now. The business world who run business are abstracting the technology away from these people and putting it into a more consumable state. You're seeing evidence in cell phones. You're seeing an evidence in cloud computing. You don't need to have technology degrees to get really amazing artificial intelligence or machine learning systems.
There are options.
There's options, right? I don't need to deal with this person.
They can geo-arbitrage to other countries.
That's right.
They can do artificial intelligence.
There's all sorts of different things that are happening now that are making the technology people who have that sacred knowledge less of an option. Right? And so what ends up happening is that because of the communication skills of most of the people that I work with today in, today out in my technology world, they have to learn how to talk in a way that the rest of the businesses will be able to have compassion and understanding and connection and all the things that the other businesses want out of them. And it's a huge problem. It's a huge, huge problem right now. So many of the technology people today, I find, are scared. They don't know what to do next. They don't know how to take their career to that space, like that. So to answer your question, we come in and we say, hey, how do I help you communicate better? Let's see the things that you're doing to talk to the rest of the world. And we pretty quickly recognize that if you speak this way or talk this way or like that, these people get mad. If you change how you talk, and back to the inner game, right? You're going to talk the way you feel. And if you don't feel good about yourself, you're going to talk poorly.
I like that.
Right? Right? Your words are going to match your vibration. If you're vibrating at a poor level, you're going to talk at a poor level. If no matter how many pretty words you say, if you're not vibrating your inner being in the way that is consistent, your words are not going to come out very nicely.
It's so interesting that, I mean, hearing the way you describe your client journey, mirrors my own journey. This whole thing started with my desire to improve on public speaking, a la Toastmasters.
Okay.
Then Landmark, and then I started looking at my inner world, what are the stories that I had that didn't serve me, and then just go more and more inward as a way to really look at, okay, who am I being, such that my action or my words, how I speak to myself, a la self-worthiness, and all of that totally mirrors how I think about, and really started from this desire to be more competitive.
That's right. It all starts with money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's be real, man. Having money is nice.
Yeah.
Right? Financial insecurity goes away when you become financially secure. If you are financially insecure, there might be some other issues going on, right? So I believe that we are heading into a reboot of communications as a human community. Okay, more connection personally than there is electronically, right? Look what happened at Burning Man, man. There's no electronics going on up there.
No.
Right? I went for the first time this past.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What you got? What did you expect and what you got? I know that you did a series of podcasts, so people who would you can go deep dive there. But just a quick summary, what was surprising to you most about Burning Man experience?
The temple. The temple is where people go and honor the passing of the loved ones, right? And they bring their pictures, their writings. They sit there and they meditate and pray. Prior to Burning Man, I had lost 4 men in my life. They died within 60 days of each other.
Oh, wow.
And one of them guy was named Jimmy. And Jimmy was one of those men that you could go to no matter what. He'd drop everything and be there. And he died of cancer. He'd been fighting it for about 1.5 years, stomach cancer, left a teenage daughter and a wife. And I hadn't let any of that shit go. All right. When I sat out in Burning Man and I hit the temple and just all these things started flying out, right? Just started losing what I thought I was supposed to be carrying, right? So I grieved a couple, 2 or 3 people that I've lost. That was the first day. Okay. I immediately started asking myself while I was there, who am I? What mask am I wearing? And why am I wearing this mask? Because you go to Burning Man, everybody's got a mask. As a matter of fact, they put on a bunch of masks, right? They wear all these costumes and stuff like that. I just wasn't fitting in. I didn't fit into any of it. I didn't fit into any of the garb they were wearing. I didn't fit into any of that. And I'm going, what am I, right? I'm on my bike pedaling around, going to art, right? And I sat back at the temple again another day, and I realized that I need to lose everything that I thought I was and its identity and let it burn in this place. And so I went back to my trailer. I had all these bins of these things that I would carry, right? I had these stones, and I had this leather, and I had some other things I'd carry, and I had a bunch of stuff. Sacred items, basically. I packed them all up, rode out to the temple, laid them down there, meditated on it, let some motion out, and it burned. That was it. I mean, I've never been that free.
So you were walking around naked the whole time?
No, I had a head thing and like that. But I kind of went. I'd been barefoot the whole time I was out there too. And it was dirty, and everything like that. But I grew up in the desert. I love the desert.
Yeah, the desert is amazing.
Desert, amazing place. Yeah. It's electric.
Yeah.
I let go of what I thought my identity needed to be. And stop caring what I thought other people thought about me. And that's a layering, by the way. That doesn't just happen. It was like a big piece of it came off, though. And watching it burn when the temple burned was a very freeing thing.
That temple design.
It's amazing.
Spiral. When it burns, goes all the way up to the heavens.
It's amazing. It's a crazy thing, man.
Burning Man to me is a very, very spiritual place. A lot of people think of it as a crazy party at the desert and where people do drugs or whatever. Yes, there's certainly a part of that.
You can find that if you want.
For sure. Yeah. But to me, spirituality is everywhere. It's a very, very holy place to me. Even.
It was.
Yeah.
It really was. By the time I left, I had deepened some connections with some people there that I never thought I'd go, right? Met so many people from around the world, right? I talked with so many people about why they're there. And, mostly couples, right? A lot of couples, a lot of people there. People are getting married there. There's just a whole bunch
Kids
of kids
running
there.
around.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm like the kid part, man.
No?
I'm not. I'm a father, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I there's a time and a place for some things. I didn't think that was me, but that's me though, right? Right. I don't need to bring my stuff onto them. They let them do their thing. That's not me. I felt that. Oh, there's one story.
Yeah, go
Was
ahead,
okay, right?
please.
So here's a story about Burning Man. While I was at Burning Man, I had this bike, right? And I love my bike, so I painted it. It's a beach cruiser. It had something like that. And I'm pedaling around. They always say lock your bike up at Burning Man, but I spent the whole first 5 days not locking it up.
Right. You're
No
testing
problem.
your luck.
You're testing your. Let me tell you right now, you're testing your luck. Okay, but most of the places I went, no one had locks, right? Okay, and so we get to the second to last day when when they burn the man, right? And it's a party. I mean, optically, you can't take it all in. It is something to see. You just can't visually take in what's going on. It's so amazing, actually. 100,000 people all around the burn, right? A lot of people fly in for that day, right? Just a bunch going on. Go back out to work, find my bike, and it's gone, right? Someone stole it. And I thought to myself, well, they didn't really steal it. They borrowed it. It's here someplace, right? Because no one's going anywhere, right? And by the way, Burning Man, there's some 5,000 to 6,000 bikes left each year that they donate and they get rid of. But so I was pissed for about 5 minutes, right? And so I start walking back. Takes me a good walk to get back. You know how that goes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not a short walk.
No,
it's a couple.
It's like miles.
It's a mile and a half back.
I mean, it looks longer at night.
Yeah,
even.
oh my
when
God.
You're cold,
you're
hungry.
walking, man. And I'm like, oh man, it's late. Everybody's having a great time and I'm walking. And I got to carry a light with me now because I don't want to get run over.
That's right.
Right, because there's so much stuff going on.
That's right.
So next morning I get up, can't find my bike. I looked all over for it, don't find it. It's gone, right? So I'm with a couple of rangers at the very point watching the sun come up right there at that main Playa Center there where they sell the coffee. And I'm watching the sun come up. I'm having a great conversation with them. I told them about the bike and they yuck. Should have walked it up. I go, hey, thanks, man. All right, so I decide I'm going to walk out to the temple one last time, right? And it's a long walk. I start walking and there's an art installation about 400 yards out. And I had not seen that one. I didn't stop at that one. I decided to detour over there. And I start walking towards it, and there's a bike. It's laying on its side. And I go, oh, that's interesting. And I get closer and closer. It's my bike. It's my bike, man.
Right.
Out of 50,000 bikes, there's my bike,
That's
right?
right.
Man, it's a needle in a giant needle haystack, right? And there it is. I literally lost my mind. I was so damn happy, man. I just go, oh my God, I have my bike, right? I jump on my bike and I start pedaling around and I'm waving at everybody. Yay! I am a 7-year-old boy on Christmas Day with his new bike pedaling up and down the neighborhood. I was so lit up. Emotionally, having found this bike that the Playa had gifted back to me.
Right.
There is no other way. You have to be at Burning Man to understand how rare 0.0001% chance of me finding my bike.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. And I just jumped on it and started pedaling. And the buddy I came with, he was way off something like that. And he and I was yelling, hello, hey, good morning, everybody like that. And I ran right into him as an accident, yelling, hello. And I go, oh, Steve, oh my God, right? And he was the guy I connected with at such a deep level that, good friend, 25 years, one of my men. And it was such a good story, man. I just love that.
So actually, let's unpack that a little bit more. There's so many stories like that.
Yeah.
To me, it's quote unquote miracles. It's miraculous. Right, it's infinitesimal. I mean, it's not infinitesimal, but it's close.
It's pretty darn small.
It's pretty darn small. A chance of finding a friggin' bike out of the whole place of Playa.
Right.
What did you learn from that? What's the takeaway lesson?
To let go. To let go. To let go.
Let go of what?
My attachment to anything that I brought there, including the bike. Right, and that I needed that lesson to. That the whatever energy was there was going to respond to me. I had to be clear of all the things that were holding me back. I just need to be clear of those things and the attachments and the how do I look in front of you and all the things that they're self-defining and what is it that I'm scared of. What am I worried about when I stand up in front of an audience, right? What is it that I'm really concerned with? And there was I don't know the reason why the bike came back, but it came back.
Well, what do you think that reason is?
Love. Like I stepped into something that was unique, and there was an energy attached to the bike that had to get its way back. I don't know, man. Again, we're back to giving up the reason why, right? The gift was there. Here's the gift. Are you going to take it?
So the lesson, I want to just really unpack the
Yeah,
lesson.
no, I'm going with you.
So you give up the attachment, and then you're going to get the gift, whatever
gifts are there.
Right.
When I let go of what I think makes me happy, the things that make me happy show up. Okay. And trying to figure out why the bike is back is like me trying to figure out how to measure love. Okay. I don't know. Right. And if I let go of these things, right, I'm able to accept what's coming at me, which is so much more powerful, which is so much more relevant. It's the flow,
right?
And I don't even know where to start with that other than say yes, right?
Yeah. When I was I grew up Chinese. Well, I'm still Chinese.
You're still Chinese.
But I grew up in the
China, right?
Right.
Okay.
I grew up in the Confucius teaching system.
Okay.
And it's all about tradition, respect the elders. There's a particular way of behaving and acting, a la sovereignty. There's a particular path. You follow this path, and life will be great, kind of a thing. And I also learned about the crazy guy named Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu?
Right. He wrote the Tao Te Ching.
I'm quite familiar with it.
Right. And it's a beautiful writing. I'm reading it again this time. And to me, he was just some crazy guy who talked about this mysterious thing called the Tao. I was like, I don't understand any of this stuff. It's beyond me, right, when I was growing up. But the older I get, the more I realize this Tao, the way, if you can describe the way, is not the way.
Not the way.
In the infinite possibility of life, if you can point to it and say, that's what Robert Christiansen is. The fact that I say it, that's in itself, that only limits you to whatever I say you are.
Right.
And similarly, how I describe myself, we're infinite beings living a human life. And how can I let go of things that don't serve me anymore, such that I can continue to manifest myself the way that I want to in the infinite possibilities and following that flow. And I know that for the people who's listening to this, maybe like, what the heck is CK Robert talking about?
I tell you, the Tao Te Ching is there's 3 or 4 books that are my all time. That's one. The other one is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Okay.
Why is that? Like, why is that?
It's a very leadership book. It's about community. What's good for the individual is good for the community. He has a very famous meditation called the obstacle is the way, right? The impediment to advancement is the advancement. It's very Taoist thinking, right?
Right.
The obstacle that you're trying to get through is the reason why you're going through it.
Right.
Okay, so you have to go through it.
Right.
And
the journey is the
is
journey.
The journey,
it's
right?
not the final finish gong and when the
Right.
song is doing the song.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a whole song.
It's the whole thing, right?
The whole notes.
And the end is part of the journey,
That's
right?
right.
So Meditations is one of those books I was turned on to by accident. I was visiting the Getty Museum in the Antiquities in Malibu, and I found it on the shelf. There was a bust of Marcus Aurelius there, and I found a book, and it said meditation. So I started flipping through it, and there are these little short, paragraphs, things. There's 7 scrolls or books that he had. They make up the meditations. And what he used to do as the last, what they consider the last good Caesar of Rome, he was between, I think it was the years 48 AD to about 65, 70, about 27 years. I don't know the exact numbers. But he was considered one of the most grounded, thoughtful leaders of Rome, and then after that, things started sliding down. But he used to carry around these teachings, these scrolls, wherever you go, and he would read them, and he would write about them, and like that. So he passed, the scrolls disappeared, and then they were found again, I think in 300 AD in the Constantine era. They copied them and kept them, right? And it's one of those writings that have been passed down since.
Right.
And so every great leader in history has had Marcus Aurelius's meditations on their shelf. Every president, okay, every leader, man or woman, has had them. And so I figured if they're reading it, so they've adopted it. And then the third book is the Odyssey, Homer's The Odyssey. It's the original story. And I really cherished that journey of the Odyssey. It's part of the trilogy. But that particular one where Odysseus is lost for 20 years after he conquers Troy. He just leaves Troy after being inside the Trojan horse. And on his way back, he gets lost. And it's all about how the gods are giving him all these things that stop him. Poseidon really is pissed off at him because he's fortunate. He has the favor of all of the other gods to help him along, but Poseidon's a really pissed off dude, right? He's the son of Zeus, and every time he goes to sea, Poseidon gets wind of it, right? And literally, knocks him off course, and Calypso captures him for 3 years and makes him her sex slave for 3 years, right? And he gets attacked by the Cyclops, which are the sons of Poseidon. He puts an eye out, the only eye, makes him blind, trying to escape. Poseidon gets pissed off again, right? And just there's all these toils for him trying to get back home to his wife. And his wife pines for him for 20 years, and his son becomes a man, but can't stop all the people who keep stealing all her Odysseus's fortunes that he's been building. And so there's a fight at home that he can't get to, and the son has to become a man to try to defend his father's castle. And there's all these classic human things that go on in this story about how we have to go through the obstacle to get to where we need to go. So these are really powerful books and meditations for me.
Thank you for sharing that. Now there's a car out there with the Odysseus.
That's mine.
Plate, I figured you love it that much.
Yeah. I got the license plate because it's just a reminder every time I see the license plate that says Odysseus, it reminds me that I am a man on a journey. Okay. And there is purpose to my journey. Okay. I am serving my home. I'm serving my wife and my children and my community and the world. And there will be challenges. There will be the gods sending things my way that are going to cause me to work. They're going to cause me to have to go over the next obstacle, go through the obstacle, whatever I have to do. And that's just life. Go back to classic, Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, right? That's fundamental. So every time I see it, it gives me a grounding that I'm not unique. The world's not out to get me. It's just our journey. This is the flow, right? Back to the Tao, right? It's all connected, Just be in it.
So following on that, and then we'll probably wrap here. Everyone's on their own journey,
right?
Man and woman, child. As someone whose purpose in life is bring, in my words, elevate consciousness, to accelerate, to help them with their journey. How do you identify someone who is on their path and ready to receive the tools, the wisdom, versus someone who is not?
They ask.
They ask. Going back to what you said,
That's
they
right.
make the call.
They make the call. If they call you, they're asking. When I was younger, I felt it necessary for me to share my opinion, whether you wanted to hear it or not. You know, CK, you should do this. Right? You know what that does to people? Pisses them off. Because you're judging them when you do that. I have found for me that the best students are the volunteers.
Say more about that.
They raise their hand. They say, I want to know more. Will you teach me? Can I be your client? Where's your book? Would you sign it for me? I want to read it. Right? Those are the people who want to hear what I have to say. I spent a lot of my time trying to convince people who don't want to hear what I have to say about what it is I'm saying. That goes nowhere and it frustrates me.
Waste the energy.
Waste the energy, right? I'm not flowing. I'm trying to flow to some place that doesn't want flow. And that's a huge lesson as anybody, a man or woman, that if you want to have significance in people's lives, turn and face those who want to hear what you have to say. They will be tapping you on the shoulder. They may not be the people who you think who you should be talking to, but my realization is that the people who are tapping me on the shoulder today, they're all in the technology industry, all of them.
Following flow again.
I'm just going towards the direction of which I'm being tapped on the shoulder.
Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated.
That's a great saying.
Yeah.
That's a great saying. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Close on that one.
Yeah, let's do that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I acknowledge you, Robert, for sharing to go to different places, things that we probably didn't anticipate. We went with flow.
Yes, we did.
I really acknowledge you for sharing in a very vulnerable, very authentic, very transparent way about your own journey, your own hero's journey, your commitment to make a difference in people's lives, specifically technologists, to really help them elevate their game, right? And then therefore, as a way, like that's the hook, but as a way to elevate their self-worth.
Yep.
I really acknowledge you for that mission. It's a beautiful, beautiful mission. So if people want to find out more about what you're up to, take your workshops, buy your books, have you as a coach, where do they go?
So they go to motiveforlife.com. That's motiveforlife.com. Motive for Life. Contact me there. If you're in the Southern California area, every first Saturday of the month from 9 to noon, we have an intentions workshop where we set out what our next 30, 60, 90 days look like, what do we want to get done. And it's a visualization using sketching and drawing techniques where you draw out the basic language of how you want to see the next days unfold as opposed to writing a bunch of words. And the images are much more powerful people than they are. They want a new house, they draw the house, right? And so it's a lot of fun. So we teach that. And the book is available on Amazon, Kindle, and paperback. It's called The Bug in Our Brain. It's done quite well this past year. I'm very pleased with that as well. So there's a lot of techniques there. You can email me at robert@motiveforlife.com or contact me through the website, the contact. And if you need direct coaching, I'm very actually I'm full up right now, so we can.
Good first world problem.
It's a good problem to have. That's a whole nother conversation that I have with individuals to see if they're right to go do that with me. Okay, but I really appreciate it, CK. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.